Hey everybody, this is Carl, back again for another TV show spoiler review. And today I will be covering season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. I'm starting a little late here because, full disclosure, earlier today wasn't feeling too well, but I'm all, not 100%, but at least like 85 to 90%, doing well. And I mean, it's only like 8:42 right now in the evening, so like I can at least pop in to get my overall thoughts on season 1. uh I was intending to do a full-on review of X-Men Age of Apocalypse, but as long as that review is gonna be, I better wait until, if not Friday, Saturday, because it is going to be like a lengthy type of discussion. But I figure I can pop in right now and get a good 30 or 40 minutes talking about Yu-Gi-Oh's Arc 5 Season 1. So before we continue, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. Let me know what you think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 and your overall thoughts on Season 1 as well, if you remember it or seen it recently. Now, we're in the next generation of Yu-Gi-Oh, where we're following this character called Yuya Sakaki, who's like an entertainment duelist, and his father was a dual-tainer but disappeared mysteriously uh some time ago, when like a few years ago. And in this world, like, holographic dueling has upgraded to the point where you got these action duels where the MC can key in a particular locale. Was, I guess, kind of based, well, I kind of wish they give like generic locations to make it look fun, like a location that looks like a big world full of desserts or something like that. Kind of feel like, you could have just make the field spell type of location. It's not necessarily like a field spell, but it's basically is. And I kind of wish they just go with your typical field spells to make it like the action duel locale or something like that. And you get these action cards, and they disperse throughout the land, so that way you can run around and pick up one of these cards. And if it's like a spell, it can do certain things like negate an attack, or cause damage to the opponent. And there's a few that are traps, where it has a negative effect upon whoever picks it up. They all are face down, so you don't know what you're getting. My only gripe is, it's like, if you're not like really athletic, it's not like user friendly to certain people. So hopefully, if you're playing this thing, you better be very agile, or just ignore it altogether. So Yuya goes to this dual school run by I forgot his name, but is the father of the female lead character, Zuzu Boyle, Mr. Boyle, basically. And you got these three young students. I forgot the name of the blue hair boy and the pink hair little girl, but then there's this German fat kid named Frederick, and him, he's like probably the most annoying character out of, like, in this particular season, or at least this particular generation of Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's just like super, I don't know how German people like look at that guy and think like, dude, do you think like we all talk like that? And he just speaks generic, tongue-in-cheek German, sayings. It's like, I kaboom, goose pimples, Lederhosen, look, bratwurst. Like, it's like, God, shut up. There's another kid named Sora, and like he probably had the funniest line out of the entire season that I still remember, because it's like the writers knew how annoying this kid is, so he actually has Sora at one point when they was looking on a duel in a stadium, and Frederick says something dumb, and Sora just like, the camera pans over to Sora, and he just like, Frederick, why don't we bring you along? I was like, exactly. That made me laugh. I was like, yeah, like, Frederick, why don't we bring you along? Oh my god, it was really funny. Speaking of Sora, Sora is this kid who, shows up and interested in pendulum dueling that Yuya Sakaki is famous for. Is a new style of summoning, because every generation of Yu-Gi-Oh has to have a new gimmick, which bothers people in the real world when it's like, when you're playing like a Yu-Gi-Oh game, people take up so much time special summoning every little thing, and it's just like super annoying, and it takes up so much time before you end up getting your own turn. And because it starts with like, well, Duel Monsters and GX, we already had like ritual and fusion summoning, but then we eventually get Xyz summoning, then we got pendulum summoning, and then in Yu-Gi-Oh VRAINS they introduced Link summoning. And I'm pretty sure some point in the future, whatever, like a new Yu-Gi-Oh coming out, they're gonna create some other brand new type of summoning, which is, kind of like, okay, we need to like just settle on what we have right now. I think, you reached the tipping point with pendulum summoning. Now you got this Link summoning, and it's kind of like, okay, we need to dial it back and just leave it, these kind of summonings as they are, because it's already taking up so much spot on the board when it comes to like, we actually have to improve on the gaming mat to facilitate the location to put the Link summoning monsters typically. But anyway, pendulum summoning, you got, pendulum cards that have scales on them, and it raises from like 0 to like, I don't know, 13 or something like that. And you can set the pendulum scale by putting one pendulum monster on, let's say you got like a scale 1, like these 2 magician cards that Yuya Sakaki always use in order to, as like his go-to pendulum summoning. So we got like pendulum 1, Stargazer magician, and a scale 8 Time Gazer magician. And so when we set this pendulum scale, he's able to summon monsters from 2 to 7. And pendulum monsters don't immediately go to the graveyard. They go to the extra deck. So you can always resummon them if they're ever destroyed again. Makes it very useful. So we got Sora, going, coming into this dual school because he's like, fascinated by Yuya and his pendulum summoning. And we get also meet like your designated, Seto Kaiba type of guy named Declan Akaba, who's probably like the, next to, in my personal opinion, he's up there in terms of like Seto Kaiba and Zane, in my opinion, in terms of like just dope ass, rival characters with like, he doesn't have like 3 dragons like, the other 2, but he's up there in terms of like, you know, dueling capabilities with his triple D monsters that summon in every facet you can think of. You know, you got D monsters that can fusion, synchro, Xyz, and pendulum summon. Which makes Declan very lethal in terms of a duelist. And so the world is kind of like, you know, turned upside down now because everybody wants to know about, you know, pendulum summoning. And it just, you know, when Yuya's first duel in like the first episode, he's in like a, you know, pickle in a duel, and all of a sudden his standard cards, you know, some of his standard cards, you know, somehow mystically changed into a pendulum card. I'll get to that in a minute. But so now he's become really famous, and Declan is having his eye on him now. And now we are then starting to get these mysterious figures showing up in the city. One of them happens to look like Yuya himself, which Zuzu took notice here, and now this is kind of mystery going on about who is this mysterious person that looks exactly like Yuya. And then we come to find out Yuya and Yuto, his, you know, this figure's name is Yuto, and him and his friend named Shay, who plays one of my favorite cards, Raid Raptors, they come from another dimension called the Xyz dimension, where all they do is like Xyz summon monsters. And they're looking for Shay's sister and Yuto's friend named Lulu, because she's been kidnapped by these evil forces from a fusion dimension, which hence the name, I guess, the world they only use fusion monsters for the most part. A fusion summoning is, you know, type of summoning. And this fusion world, it, you know, got this dual academy, I guess, and they are led by this professor, which turns out to be Declan's dad. And somehow Declan I guess he's like a, you know, big scientist because he has his own company that Declan now running, has created a interdimensional teleporting device that transfers people from one dimension to another. And he starts sending out forces to, because their dual discs, a lot of their dual discs are like, you know, hard light constructs that look like swords. And the first conquest they started out is attacking the Xyz dimension and started trapping people in cards. Now, all that will come to play as to why they're doing this in the second season. But Declan, it turns out, you know, has been preparing for this invasion for a while now, because when he was younger, because his father disappeared after a while, leaving his mother as a single mom and looking after the son who's had to take care of the company himself. And when he was younger, he, you know, found his dad's old lab and found his teleporting device, went to the fusion dimension, found a young Lulu, and try to help her escape, and they get caught, and the father sent him back, so he won't be able to come back again. He come to realize that his father is a total creep, and he's mounting a multi-dimensional conquest for some reason. And now I already know the entire plot, but I only want to focus on season 1 right now. So now the characters are like, okay, what's going on? Because I don't know why they couldn't just, Declan couldn't just gather everybody together and fully explain what's going on. He got to do this crazy machinations just to see, what Yuya his capabilities are, and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, you know what's coming, and you could just like gather them all together. You got to go through all this rigmarole. I don't know, but he's pretty much set up this big tournament, and only like the best of the best who win this tournament he wants as like his personal army in order to be able to defend their universe, essentially, because he knows at some point his father's going to start attacking, it's going to come back, and it's going to come after their world. We also meet up with this other character that looks like Yuya named Yugo, who comes from a synchro dimension, and of course he has a dual runner and everything like that. And of course each one has like their own signature card. Yuya has Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Yuto has Dark Rebellion Dragon, Yugo has Clearwing Synchro Dragon. And then we also eventually meet one of my favorite characters, Yuri, who's from the from the fusion dimension, who also is another parallel Yuya, who's more sadistic, and he has a Predaplant deck, and his signature card, what the heck is Venom Fusion Dragon, something like that. I'm blanking on the exact title, but those are the names in the title. And so now Zuzu's tripping up, because now not only she doesn't know what heck is going on and why is she seeing another Yuya running around, and then there appears to be another her running around named Selena, who's from the fusion dimension, who's like I gotta say, Zuzu eventually became like a very good duelist in her own right, thanks to the teaching of Sora, teaching her how to fusion summon after she lost against this girl named Crystal from a rival school, which I thought was pretty dope, because well, this is the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole. There's plenty of awesome female duelists in the franchise, but after like the first season, they always somehow get lame. Now, at the very least, she doesn't turn out to be just like a janky cheerleader for Yuya, unlike what's her name in Yuma's Yuma Tsukumo's girlfriend. I forgot her name. In Zaxo, who's just a glorified cheerleader and doesn't really add much to anything. But like I said, like they always get agency in the first season, but somehow petered out in like later seasons. But now she's freaking out because like, why I'm seeing like other versions of them. And then eventually Yuya sees these other versions of him, and it's like, okay, well, at least Yuto and Yugo, but Yuto doesn't like Yugo, because Yugo, for some reason, assists, at least to their, to him and Shay's knowledge, they think Yugo works with the fusion dimension, even though he's from the single dimension. So they view him as an enemy, even though this guy doesn't. Nobody like to explain crap or sit down and talk things out. There's I don't know. There's a lot of people making stupid decisions where they could have just easily gathered people up and explain the situation. But anyway, we also find out from Shay that Sora is from the fusion dimension. He doesn't belong in at least what they dubbed as the standard dimension. And he's partly responsible for their missing friend Lulu. And you see like a flip with Sora's personality, who's gotten more sadistic, or at least just I don't want to say sadistic, because I think Yuri's the sadistic one. Sora is pretty much cocky and just seems like a charming dude who likes candy, turns into be kind of like a jerk, like a complete flip. And now Yuya's like wondering, like, what the heck's going on? Like, why are you behaving like this, Sora? But then after Yugo defeats Yuto for some reason disappears. I guess because maybe the injuries, and he gets died. His spirit entered in Yuya, so now he has Dark Rebellion Dragon along with his Odd Eyes Dragon, which put him at odds with Shay, who thinks that he killed his friend. Then Yuya, because there's always like a thing with Yu-Gi-Oh protagonists, at some point they fall to the dark side a little bit. You see that with Yugi, or at least Atem with the Seal of Orichalcos. You see that with Jaden with the Supreme King. I don't know if like, oh yeah, Yuma definitely snapped after like after the utter betrayal that Astro felt with and then the whole situation with finding out about Vector and his copy of himself to trick Yuma. He fell into like a dark side. And then you got Yuya here, who is now going through his dark thing. Excuse me. So every time things get stressful, he taps into that dark side, and it's like this black aura, shoots out from him, and it leads into a kind of clever thing. I'm not going to bring it up here. I'm going to wait till maybe the second season. I think they bring it up at some point in the second season, but definitely in the third season, that's where it culminates. But I think there's very creative for how this turns out, because you never see this in most shows or movies. I think it's a rare occasion when you see this kind of thing. But anyway, so now eventually the Sora and a bunch of people from the future dimensions is starting to sprout up and starting to attack certain people and trapping them in cars. So now time is up. The fusion dimension is starting to invade the standard dimension now. I think probably the only one left, which the end fight will, well, not the end fight, but the end fight will probably end in the fusion dimension. But season 2 they'll end up in the synchro dimension, obviously. But it's an interesting premise, but I'll give my I'll probably wait until maybe my next review of this or the third season review of this to talk about why I feel like this kind of seems convoluted in certain cases, but we're just setting up like a full scale war that's coming coming to rear its ugly head at this point. There's, unlike in Zexo, I think, like, aside from Frederick, I think the supporting cast is pretty dope because they all are legit duelists, except from those little kids. I think Gong is probably my second annoying character behind Frederick because he keeps speaking in the third person. Gong don't like this. Gong don't like that. Gong likes pie. Gong like it's like, stop that. It has a dope deck though, which is, you know, very unique, where it's called the Super Heavy Samurai deck, where it doesn't use spell or traps. It's all like monsters, which harkens back to the first or second episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, where Yugi talks to Joey about his deck. Like, you can't have a deck full of monsters. You gotta include magic and trap cards to balance them out so you can give us some boost and everything like that. Which was always been the case, because you can't just have like a deck full of just monsters, because it won't work. You will lose every time. But Super Heavy Samurai deck is specifically, you know, made to duel without magic and trap cards, because majority of those cards won't be able to activate their effects if there's a magic or trap card in their graveyard or on the field. And there's certain cards that is used as their equip cards or some type of defense to negate or lure or boost certain monsters, which I want to build a Super Heavy Samurai deck at some point in the future for Master Duel, because I really want to try that out. Because like I said, my favorite cards ultimately is the Dark Magician deck that I have, the Raid Raptor deck, and the Blackwing deck. It's probably like the best cards I use on Master Duel that, you know, get me through a lot of stuff because they're really good. And then like Zane's Cyber Dragon deck, you know, that one's another one. It's like 4 really good cards that like got me out of some jams, but or decks. But anyway, so now things are sprouting up. You know, Declan, like I said, he's smart. He's, you know, obviously doing all this to, well, I guess I guess from his point of view, he couldn't just outright tell certain people about what's coming, because A, who will believe them, and B, how can you get like them to, you know, do their absolute best if they're, you know, their mind's too focused on the dangers ahead. You gotta be able to, you know, guarantee, like, I want the best of the best and don't want any chumps, because this is gonna be a life and death situation. So we need to be able to have strong duelists to fight on our behalf. You can't just have just any doggone duelist. They gotta be the best of the best. I get it, but I don't know. At a certain point, you can clue in a couple of people like Yuya, who's definitely have proven himself. But you know, he's like to keep things close to his chest, I guess. But I mean, it's a strong start in this franchise, and like I said, there's a bigger thing getting towards the end. I want to wait until I bring it up. But and to why we got 4 dimensions, I'll wait until I in the next few reviews to bring up as to why. I think that's kind of convoluted because it also uh breaks, in my opinion, what we come to know from previous Yu-Gi-Oh franchises that we have gotten used to. Because it's supposed to be like each generation of Yu-Gi-Oh is a little further along into the future. But here's the thing: if this is supposed to be like a standard dimension, because each, as they establish it, each dimension has their own unique summoning. So we got a standard dimension. Why you call it standard if now you got a pendulum situation going on that just came about? You could just from the jump, it's like, okay, this is making like a pendulum world, because making a whole entire thing. Okay, this is a world where only pendulum summoning is the norm. There shouldn't be any fusions, synchros, or exceeds. At the same time, like you got a synchro dimension, the only summoning requirement that is well known from that dimension should be only synchros. Fusion, exceeds, pendulum should not exist, and vice versa with the other ones. It's just like, why you trying to establish each world has like a unique summoning, but you see from the standard dimension, they can just use all types of summoning and they're familiar with it. I would have respected more if, like, you see somebody exceed summon the first time and everybody's like, what is that? What is exceed summoning? This is weird. But no, they're used to it because it's like, it's, I don't know. Standard dimensions should be like either only pendulum or people are just allowed to tribute summon. There's no special summoning type of thing outside of bringing the monster back from the graveyard. Or at the very least ritual summoning. So I think that part is, could have been handled a lot better, because the way how you establish each dimension, I think it would have been better if you just made it like, oh, nobody's familiar with, if you're not from a single dimension, things like, ritual, seas, fusion, all that should be foreign concept to you in like a synchro dimension. You know what I mean? It's just, that's how I feel. But I will see you guys later on. Don't know exactly when. I just literally kind of wrapped up the season 1 of arc 5, so I want to get right into season 2, and whenever I'm done with it, I think it's a little longer than season 1 and season 3, but I'll try to get through as much as I can. And once I'm done, I'll hop back in to review season 2 and give my overall thoughts about what's going on with that. I will see you guys, if not tomorrow, Saturday, with my full coverage on Age of Apocalypse comic event. And that's gonna be pretty long, so it all depends on how, hopefully I'm not too exhausted after work tomorrow, but more than likely I'll probably have to wait till Saturday when I'm fully rested. And it's gonna be a long video, probably the longest comic book review that I've done since like the Spider-Man Spider-Verse comic event. So maybe I probably should do it Saturday once I'm fully rested and have some eat and mentally prepared to talk about this long adventure. But anyway, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the characters of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, because I love the Yuya variants, as well as Sora I really dig, and Shay I really dig. It's one of my favorite characters. And I'm pretty sure that the main voice actor for Yuya Sakaki also voiced every other version of him from different dimensions. Hold on. Let me double check. Michael Lucio Jr. Uh, Michael Lucio Jr. Yeah, that's pretty much looking like that is the case. Because what a hell of a, talent Michael is to be able to voice, like the amount of range that a person needs to have to not only voice technically the same person, but utilize different inflections to differentiate between these different characters. They're different but the same. I think that's very talented. I always impressed with an actor who's able to do something like that. It's kind of like James McAvoy in the movie Split, where how you can alternate different personalities and make them so distinct, even though they come from the same body. This is kind of like that, where it's like, you got like bright and chipper with Yuya, and then more like a same disposition, and you got like Yuto's more like gravelly, angry, and Yuri is a little more like happily sadistic, and Yugo is like very like matter of factly, head, rushing, rushing headfirst into like a situation, always on the go kind of situation. So thought that was very impressive. Anyway, I will see you guys in a couple of days. Have a great evening, and yeah, like I'll try to get back onto some more Yu Yu Arc 5 season 2. Take care, and I'll see you all soon.